Hello, Port Harcourt. Good morning and welcome back. My name is Jude. It's been another fantastic day and morning for conversations. I do know it's raining, and I know in several parts some of you may just be experiencing it heavier than others. But before we get onto our major conversation this morning, please, I'd like to bring to the attention of those who are responsible. I'm sure it's probably the River State Waste Management Authority and maybe the Obiakpo Local Government Council chairman, or those who are, in that particular building or buildings. Recently, last week, I did make mention that there was a very admirable activity that was carried out, which was the cleaning of the drainages along NTA Road, close to Location Junction. I think it was fantastic. I think it was long overdue. But the problem is the silt has been removed, and unfortunately, even after the silt was removed, it was not taken away from the site where they were taken from. So you had a stretch of gutter cleaned out, the debris, the silt placed on the road, that has now narrowed the road to basically one lane after you pass the NNPC petrol station on NTA Road towards Location Junction. The road just narrows down to just one lane because of the silt on that side of the road. To make this even more disturbing, the rains started 2 days ago yesterday. So the good work, the hard work that was carried out, getting the silt out, getting the debris out, getting the trash, the waste paper bins and the plastic that people had thrown knowingly into those gutters are now making their way back into that same gutter. It's defeating the purpose. So going forward, it would make a lot of sense for all of us and those who are responsible for that activity, if it was the local government there, if it was the community members there. If you're going to remove the silt, for example, if you're cleaning out the gutter, people need to be employed so they can take that sand out of that place. Look, the sand on that stretch of road is enough to have probably started a small fence somewhere. That is useful. It is useful. Just my thought anyway. Okay? So we start out this morning looking at taxation, and then we talked about the friendly nature of businesses in Port Harcourt, and I had a few messages. This one here is from Blessed Zechariah. It says, I was barely 2 weeks in Port Harcourt. This was in January of 2013 at the Rumokoro market. I just asked for a discount from the woman who was buying things from, and she told me, screaming, that I should leave her stand with my bad luck, calling people's attention. I was embarrassed. Just yesterday at Rumukuta at the petrol station, I parked in front of a car wash, which was very busy, washing 2 cars. The 3 people there sitting down on the bench within the vicinity. I wanted to use the ATM with him. I was already in front of the ATM when one fierce-looking man rushed towards me, abusing me, that I blocked his business. I put my 2 palms together, begged him that I would leave now since I was about using the machine. He refused. The man almost ran to me to stop me from touching the machine. I removed my car from there without even using the ATM. That's from Blessed Zachariah. So yeah, it does happen. Anyway, we are all speaking to ourselves. Hopefully we get to do things better as we go on. Now, my final conversation this morning is a difficult one, and is one that maybe some parents have been paying maybe no attention to, or maybe they've turned their eyes and ears away from, as was the case in my time in secondary school. It's all about teens and violent behavior. Now, recent stories of secondary schools fighting and in some cases displaying signs of gang behavior raise the question, where and why are our teenagers reacting or acting in this manner? Some of you will remember sometime about 2 years ago, if not last year, where a secondary school in Port Harcourt was in the news, made the national newspaper, as individuals, students, were fighting amongst themselves and carried weapons and even attacked teachers in this Port Harcourt. And there are also stories from the East as well, where in some cases, some of the schools, the classes, whether SS2 or SS3 or SS1, SS3, will have some form of fight, and then they would literally turn the school upside down. But before we get to where these things become so serious, I'd like to start with, where do some of these children get this penchant for violence and punishment? You see, I went to a boarding house, and whenever I look back at my days back in the boarding house, I ask myself this question: why were we so wicked to ourselves in secondary school? I'm not missing words, I'm using the word wicked. You see, worldwide, adolescents are disproportionately affected by violent behaviors. So in some places, maybe the parents don't have a violent background. The child is less likely to express that in their teenage years. But in my school, in my secondary school, we had seniors who would flog us with, the obligatory cane. Some would go with the belts. And then some of these seniors will get it in their head that they were so powerful, and then they would remove the bed planks, the planks that run across the bed so you can put your mattress, and use those planks, 2x4s, and hit people's children. Hit people's children. Was it our creativeness or creativity in fashioning different types of punishments? Some people were asked to mop the floor, the ground, until it turned white. If you've never been to Edo State, you would know, or let me tell you now, if you don't know, there are parts of Edo State where the soil that is available is clay soil, is mud, brown. Imagine mopping the ground. This was Uromi now. Imagine mopping the ground, putting water for almost 3 hours. There's no amount of magic that will make it white. But that was the punishment some senior students were giving to younger students. Or catch a bike. Pick pin. I hung from the hook of a ceiling fan for about 2 hours. If there was ever a day I felt that my life should end, it was that day. The pain was nearly unbearable. For every time I would fall from that hook, I would get flogged. And then I would be sent back up. And to get back up, I had to climb a double-decker bunk. I had to climb the bed bunk, climb the one on top, and then get to that hook on the ceiling. Then they will remove the bed frame. So I had no support. I did this for almost 2 hours. Now, a survey was done. This is from the Semantic Scholar. And one of the contributors, one of the doctors involved here was a psychologist. And let me read this line for you before I open the phone line. So, Nigerian students in Ibadan public secondary schools, about 6 of them were interviewed and were asked questions to gauge their violent behavior. Now, respondents answered questions regarding demographic profile, sexual behavior, and the extent to which they have experienced or perpetrated physical, sexual, or psychological violent behaviors. Now, the lifetime experience of at least one of the 3 forms of violence was 97.9%. That's sad. That of these 3 forms of violent behavior, almost every child that was interviewed or asked questions had experienced one form. Physical violence ranked the first at 94.4%, followed by psychological at 77.6%, And then sexual violence at 34.9%. Now, the most common type of these forms of violent behavior experienced were slaps. And we make jokes about these things. If you go on social media, you hear people say, when they give you slap, manual reset, your brain goes shake. People's brain shook when I was in secondary school. Somebody, a senior, slapped a junior student. I can't forget this. Just as 3 I was in, the boy started to bleed from the ear. That was the last time that student stayed in school. He was expelled immediately. You slap somebody and the person's ear started to bleed. But it did not, sadly, deter the rest of us from slapping junior students. Because up until I finished secondary school, slaps were flying left, right, and center like mosquito bites. Ooh, we love to slap. The next type of violent behavior was unwanted touching of bodies, particularly of the females. 22.7% of the girls stated that somebody had either touched their breast or their backside whilst in school. And then 63.2% said they had been belittled, and this happened a lot in my time. So someone calls you and says you are a goat, you are useless, you don't have levels, kneel down there under the rain. That's how some people fell ill. Some people would be the slaves. This is not using the word servant is like I'm putting on kids' glove for this issue. But some children will make other children, and I'm talking about 16, 17-year-olds, beating, molesting 13-year-olds, 11-year-olds, making them slaves in school. The abuse was so bad that at one point, if a senior student, an SS3 boy, says, go here, and a teacher tells you, go there, many students would obey that senior student. That showed you the level, the extent at which we were abusing ourselves in secondary school. Now, some of you are thinking, nah, this is probably not happening today. People are much better now. Are they really? Are they? Ladies and gentlemen, hello, Port Harcourt.
News of Africa and the world every day right here on Nigeria Info.
0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007, and then the female caller line is 0817-923-0009. WhatsApp and Telegram is 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. And on social media at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH for Facebook. Welcome. Let's have a conversation. Hello, Port Harcourt. Good morning, Basi. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Jude, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, my God. Jude, did you attend the federal government college? Let me ask you.
No, I didn't.
Okay, because all that you narrated are just typical of what we also pass through in federal government colleges. I attended a federal government college in Ikotekpene, and up until this moment, I still have my scars.
Wow.
I have one on my left eye, and
wow.
It's ridiculous, completely preposterous what led to this. What was that? They usually serve us okra soup and gari in the afternoons on Thursdays. Any FGC boy can relate. IK. So usually the seniors will say that we should submit our meat. And the meat was so small, very small, almost insignificant. And then, the mischievous mates at times will now ride on that and say, Senior D say you should bring your meat. So on that fateful day, I felt that it was one of the pranks that our mates will play, and I refused to submit my meat. Meanwhile, the person asking for the meat is in the hostel. It doesn't come for the meal. It doesn't come for the food or to the dining. And that was how my...
Hello, Basi.
You needed to see the way...
Yeah, go on.
I was brutalized. I bled.
Wow.
I bled uncontrollably, and I couldn't even report the matter. The senior now said, please don't report me. So it was a junior student who was in a first aid club that was treating me in the hostel. And I couldn't attend classes for more than 1 week. And he
wow.
No, don't report me. If you do that, they are going to expel me. This is just one of it. In fact, you see that hanging on the fan hook that you described.
Yes.
In my school, they will pour charcoal, red hot charcoal on the floor, or broken bottles on the floor, so that if you leave that fan hook, if you disengage from there, you are going to land on red hot charcoal or on broken pieces of bottle. Can you imagine that kind of cruelty?
What made us...
Children of just 2 years, 3 years older are missing out on just children of their own peers, And because of that, Jude, I said, my child will never attend a boarding house.
But
never.
But Basi, why do you think?
Sorry, yeah?
Why do you think your peers were acting out that way? Why? What exactly happens in these schools that make them so aggressive?
They were trying to repeat what.
Hello, Basi.
So it was like a tradition. You pass through the same punishment and cruelty, so pass it on to the next. By the time you came in JS1, you had already started seeing, so it was a way of wielding influence. Just like you said, a teacher will give an order and then a student will also give. In fact, sometimes they will tell us 2 SS3 students will come and stand and say, push, go and carry that SS3 student. The other one will say, come and touch me. That's enough. And for the next 3 hours, we will be brutalized. Because you go and touch the other one, that one will say, okay, I don't have much influence. So it was just because there were no much televisions and shows like that for you to say that these were the things that influenced the people. It was a function of what you met on ground. So you continue it like that.
So where did the origin come from? Yes, I agree. Maybe back then it wasn't a question of maybe they saw on TV, but who was getting these violent attacks for the children to perpetrate? That's the big question. Thank you very much, Basi. It's a big question because even in secondary school then, our friends will share the same stories. You meet people from other secondary schools, they'll tell you, this is what, particularly those who went to NDA, for example, they'll tell you, my superior, my commandant had a prefect, the camp leader would do this and do that. But these are and were teenagers. It never ever made sense to me. It never made sense to me. Jason is on the phone.
Yeah.
Good morning, Jason.
Jude.
Good morning, Jason.
Morning, man. What a topic. What a topic. It sends shivers down my spine.
Jason? Oh dear. Jason, please do call us back. Frank in GRA. Good morning, Frank.
Hello, Sam.
This is Jude. Good morning, Frank.
Jude. Oh, Jude. Sorry. The truth is there. You see, this brutality we experience during the school ages. It's something that it reoccurs over and over. When I was in school, I actually attended Methodist College, Ozua College. That's in Abia State. So in our school days, when it's transition period, when let's say the people in power are actually exchanging to the next, that's the predecessors or the successors. Sorry. So that very night that it's going to happen, you dare not sleep even in the hostel because you will be highly brutalized. They will flog. I have all my scars all over me at this point. So, things like this, it happens. When it's your own turn and you're leaving, you definitely want to do the same. That's all.
All right, Frank, I would have loved to ask you more questions, but we have people on the line, and I need to get as many calls on this subject matter as we possibly can. Once again, if you are a parent and you have a son or a daughter in any secondary school, whether they are day students or they are boarders, you may want to pay close, and I mean very close attention to what is going on around them. 90.3.
Hello,
90.3. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Jude.
Yes, please.
Okay, Jude. Are you with me?
I can hear you. Go on.
Hello, Jude.
I can hear you. Go on, please.
Okay, yes. Okay, talking about brutality. Well, we used to call it punishment. It was the school tradition again. Okay, when senior boys, and to some extent, we look at it as kind of as kind of a discipline. And this thing involves, from your class 1 to your class 2 trade, you suffer it. By the time you get to class 4, you're a senior boy. You're not going to implement it onto others, okay? But coming to think how this thing came into our system, because I went to school in the 80s, and I want to believe that after the Civil War, there were a lot of people who came back to secondary school. Then you see men who have beards. Some matured men. And some of them went to the war. They were like Biafran soldiers, they were.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. We will take a quick break. Bottom of the hour, we have headline news. And then when we come back, we will continue with this conversation. Maybe he has a point. Maybe because of the exposure to those who had already seen abuse, whether it's from the Civil War or any other conflict, and then they were in the same space with much younger, maybe even inexperienced individuals. That's where this started. I can't say for sure. But one thing I can say is this, that the study showed that 97% of the children, this was studied in the western part of Nigeria, had all experienced one form of violence, whether it was physical, sexual, or psychological. So the question is, where does it start, and why does it seem to be replicated in very ingenious ways in secondary schools? Hello, Port Harcourt.
Headline News, Nigeria Info.
92.3.
Headline News.
Hello, good morning. I am Ifeemi Andrew. President Buhari flags off NLNG 27 project in Bonny, River State today. River State government commends federal government for NLNG project, calls for completion of Bonny Border Road, East-West Road. Governor Wike expected to swear in elected local government chairman this week. Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi takes to swipe those PDP members criticizing APC. PDP governors criticize borrowing by present administration. In business, Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association of Nigeria insists on 3-day warning strike beginning from Wednesday. In entertainment, Chris C. Teigen apologizes for bullying several people on Twitter. In sports, Sheffield United goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale called up to England's Euro 2020 squad to replace injured Dean Henderson. On the foreign scene, final stage of easing lockdown restrictions in England to be delayed until 19th of July. Contact our newsroom in 0818 900 0017. Good morning.
All right, welcome back. Jude, one of the biggest problems I had back in school was knowing who exactly to be friends with. It was like a different country in its own in my secondary school. You had those who were definitely at the top and those who were, as you would expect, at the bottom. And so in order for you to stay at the top, you had to prove your levels. And to prove your levels, you had to do some very terrible things. I did things, Jude, that I am not... All right, I'll just leave the word that I'm not proud of. I wouldn't say the rest. Welcome back. Hello, Port Harcourt. My name is Jude, and we're having a conversation about teen violence and what exactly makes teenagers express levels of violence, particularly when they get to secondary schools. I'm sure you have stories, but like the survey, the study I shared with you, the statistics I shared with you, it's very disheartening that 97% of the students, both male and female, by the way, had experienced some form of aggressive or violent behavior when they got to school. So what makes a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, look at another child who is probably maybe 2-3 years, at the most 4 years younger than they are, and say, you know what, I am going to do dastardly things to you to prove my power. Now, such was the mindset of many senior students back in my time, that they almost felt like gods. You had senior students who would wake up and then everybody around that particular dorm had to do something for that student. One particular senior student in my time would have people use their shirts to keep him cool during siesta. He was having siesta, but the other students, the junior students, would not sleep. That sounds like abuse to me. Psychological, in any case. 08179230002. 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007, and then the female caller line is 0817-923-0009. When you call in, please do us a huge favor. Turn down the volume of your radio set or turn it off preferably. If you cannot, maybe step away from the radio so we can all enjoy your conversation. 0809-030-6416 is the WhatsApp number. Let's get to hear from you this morning. Frank is speaking to us. Good morning, Frank.
Yeah, hello. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Yeah, I think the last caller before he left for the commercial hit the nail. That is where this started from. I recall when I was in secondary school, class 1, class 2, we even had soldiers that were instilling discipline on students. So soldiers that will stand to flog children for late coming and all that. And besides that, like you said, those students then, some of those students that came in were products of the Civil War. Okay? Hello?
I'm listening to you, Frank. I'm listening to you.
Okay, yeah. Some of them were products of the Civil War. So after the Civil War, they came into the secondary school. So they introduced a lot of, it was like, I don't know whether the Greeks called it the FFBs, common military sort of operation in secondary school. So it was so bad. You see somebody who wear carry left shoe, wear on the right side, you remove the right one, put on the left, I'll come before you say, hey, am I correct? You say, no, you're not correct. You flog, you say, oh, you folks want to teach me how to dress. I mean, I don't know, begin to flog you, tell you pick the pin and all that. It was so bad. It was so bad. So it was what they learned in the army. I think that was what they came to
but the children these days from, let's say, the 90s and early 2000s, when I was in secondary school, we did not necessarily experience those things. So how come they were still perpetrating it till then?
I think those that experience it might have told the other ones back this is what was going on and all that, and would like to experience it. And you see, like this is a man who will club of a thing. I remember the person that was our man who commander was an ex-soldier. He was so brutal, he would use a lanyard, he would tell you, look, use your lanyard first. If in the case of a battle, if your lanyard fails you, use the dagger. So some matter of fact of this, and they decided, okay, let me try and see if I can experience it. That those that came now subsequently, that those that came in the 90s.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much for your contribution, Frank. So Frank is saying that, look, the experience must have been transmitted, and those who have come afterwards will share stories. But I would expect that when people have very, very bad experiences, they tell people, hey, look, this is it. Let's not do it. When I was in secondary school, when we got to SS2, that handover period, like somebody mentioned, and we got to SS3, I spoke to my classmates because I was media prefect, and I said, this thing should not happen in our time. Needless to say, I was speaking to empty baskets. But over the course of the year, a lot of people saw reason and started to curb their excesses. Because I couldn't understand why I would have suffered and then felt it was okay to let someone suffer as well. It did not make sense to me. And it still doesn't make sense. Ben in Oyigbo, good morning.
Good morning. How is everything?
Very well. Thank you for calling, Ben.
I thank God you are able to discuss. See, I am highly disappointed with the response of most of your callers. Brutality in the schools. If you watch many schools today, some good schools today, I say some good schools today,
yeah,
the brutality has been abolished in many schools.
Good.
If you go to a school like Government College or Kibe, which I know very well, brutality has been reduced to below 1% in that school.
Fantastic.
Because at a time, the teachers, the parents came in to find out why this brutality, and they now have to devise means to break it down. This issue of brutality, which we met in school, we passed all through all those things. You know, earlier time, even before the war, after the war, in the early 80s, we passed through the time of this ancient time, the time of corporal punishment, which is the same thing method in the schools. When somebody commits offense, you see teachers themselves, not only students, they will raise you up, give you 24 lashes. At times they will ask you to go and fetch water 20 times. It is ancient time. It is a primitive life which we inherited. It's not a function of war. Somebody who passed through the war or a soldier who came to the school lived the life of a soldier. It's not that those things passed from them, brother. It was time of primitive life. And good and fine today, we are shifting from that primitive life to our modern life. Then you can see that there's a ban on flogging students. There's a ban of corporal punishment, both by government and by schools. And you can see that the whole thing has improved. But for some schools where the teachers have refused to do what they are supposed to do, there are still some corporal punishment in some schools. has nothing to do with war. It has nothing to do with somebody's background. Rather, it depends on the teacher to find in the school. Yes, some students pass it from their predecessors to the present time. But the teachers and parents have to do more to stop this corporal punishment.
Thank you very much, Ben. 9.3, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
This is my friend Thomas. My name is Dan Dancing.
Welcome, Dancing.
Yes, sir. So, talking about this topic, I want to talk about my experience. Like, when I was in school, I've seen how called girls were abusing the innocent ones.
Okay.
They will abuse them, and they will even force them to even join their own group.
Okay.
Yes.
So
it's happening now.
All right. So some of these students are still being lured into gang activities because they can't fight for themselves. Can they report? Isn't there anybody they can report to?
Oh yeah. Let me tell you something, sir. Like, even the teachers are avoiding even those code groups because even they can even threaten them. They can't even do anything to themselves. So the teachers can only advise the good ones to avoid them. But those code, because they are so like deeper, the school is still existing as monocry. So it's happening. There's nothing you can do about it.
Well, we like to think that there's something that we can do because we like to preserve our youth. Thank you very much for sharing this morning. 9.3, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, please.
Jason from Omaya. I'm back.
Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. This topic, I don't want to be so reactive to the person who said war has nothing to do with it. It has. Everybody has an experience to relate. It depends on the time when he attended his secondary school. So that war, we will never stop talking about the effects of that war. But I don't want to dwell so much on it. Militarization, even when I was in secondary school in the 90s, yeah, we are soldiers. Even our principal and the school authorities bring in soldiers to punish students. And what effect would that have on them psychologically? Garbage in, garbage out. I studied psychology. There's something called nature nurture.
Yes, nature nurture.
Yes. Your background, hereditary stuff, and then the environment you grew up in. When you were in primary school, when I was in primary school, you know, the models, those who will look up as role models who were in secondary school, they come back and tell us what they are going through in school, what their seniors are doing. That is when you see men with peers in school. 70s, 80s. You see the afro with comb in their hair. And he commands you to do something. Who are you to say no? And that is what they also inherited or suffered from those who were their seniors. And they passed the baton. So if the other man is saying that schools have no power to, that thing is not complete.
But we do know, Jason, at least I do know that in several schools, the parents and teachers and the PTA, they had to come in to intervene. I know in some cases, the police was brought in, investigations were made. Those who were found to be, culpable were expelled. Stricter and standard measures of scrutiny were employed to deter students from doing that. Also, there were measures to encourage students into good behavior, and that helped in reducing some of these things.
Yes, my brother, I know. It was there, even there. But look at why those things have now dissipated. It has come down a little. Because the drive now, there are younger persons in school. You can see a 16-year-old person is already in the university. And you see that the advent of computers and social media, every little thing you do now will be so exposed. So those days were not there. Primitivity in quote. You can hide, wear the cloak of the school uniform and do whatever you want
to do. Very true.
A teacher can rape a student or can turn a student to a slave, and nobody will talk about it. So, but now, and you also see that those state schools and the federal government schools are not really the intent now. There are so many private schools everywhere. So, and these things cannot be tolerated in
those spaces. Yes.
So these are why brutality of such sort are no longer there as it used to be. And we are shifting very much from the war time, and many things are changing. The world is a global village. There's a camera in your head every time, whatever you're doing.
All right. Thank you very much, Jason. 92.3. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning, please.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hello, how am I speaking?
This is Jude. Good morning.
Jude from
Nigeria Info. You just called us. Good morning.
Nigeria Info.
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Okay. It's fine. It does happen. Maybe didn't get to dial the number properly. Okay, all right. All right, let's get here now. Good morning, Jude. One of the biggest challenges when it comes to controlling students is giving them the reason to do the right thing. When a child is exposed to violence, the child only sees violence as the way to solve problems. We should start from the homes to teach people how to dialogue and only to use violence as the last resort. In fact, only licensed people should use violence. That's from TK. Apologies. Licensed people should use violence. I'm guessing you're referring to police and maybe members of the authority. TK, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, just putting that out there. All right. Thank you. Let's get here now. 90.3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, please. Welcome.
Good is Prince calling from Porako.
Good morning, Prince.
Okay, my take in this is I've listened to the callers, and then I can say, when we talk about civil war having effects in the 80s, do we still have that civil war mentality then in Zaria, Kaduna, where that is as well happened? Or do we have it in Ogun State, 80s, when that as well happened? The point is that bullies are always in awe, even from 80s to 90s. You will have bullies in school. Because I remember my father used to have to come to the school to speak on my behalf because of a bully. So I passed through it. But it wasn't based on the eastern part. So we cannot put it just because it is, well, no. We have them everywhere. We have bullies. We have them.
Okay.
So just what we have to do is, when it is noted, it is based on the teacher involved, the people. Yeah, that is the teacher, and then we call the master. Then we report to the master. But the master then, how he has nothing to help us with, because the guy is always there. The only thing the principal has to do is to expel him from school.
Okay. All right. Michael Kolade on Facebook says, this part of the country celebrates cultism, violence, killing, rather than academic excellence. Osaki Diri says, it's because the family system in this part of the world doesn't really work. Family is the nucleus of society, and if it doesn't work, society may break down. Dandy Ray says, in my school days, there were girls and boys that belonged to cult groups that were abusing other girls that were innocent and even attempting to force those girls into belonging to their own cult groups. It still happens till today. He says it's a government secondary school brokery. All right. Okay. So, more effort needs to be made by, one, the parents, then also the authorities, the school authorities themselves. Are you investigating this child's behavior, this attitude, the background? 90.3, good morning.
Yes, Ajud, good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome, please.
Yes, I attended a day school.
Okay.
Yes, one of my teachers said something when he met a senior student, handling a junior student, the geography teacher. He said something that has never left my mind till today. He said the reason why you will hear that the social person is in position of authority, or possibly a human resources manager in one of the companies, and you cannot boldly walk up to him as a classmate or as a schoolmate, is because of the way you related with the person when you were in school. He said, we have classmates, we have schoolmates.
Yeah.
You are jobless, you are looking for employment, and you are told that social person you know is in social position and you cannot walk up to him, is because of the way you treated the person. I was maltreated by my DSP. He maltreated me. Till today, anywhere I meet him in Port Harcourt, I don't greet him. He injured me.
Oh dear.
He will always look for a reason to flog me. Flog hell out of me. So he said something. So we have schoolmates, we have classmates. So for the fact that you are head of the person in the class, doesn't mean that you should be a pharaoh to the person. Because there is always tomorrow. Thank you. Very important.
All right. Thank you very much. There is always tomorrow. I guess a lot of us forgot that as children. And I totally share the sentiment with the last caller. For years, I think for almost 18 years, whenever I would hear the name of that senior student who made me hang on the ceiling fan, from the hook of the ceiling fan, my blood would boil. In fact, having a conversation with my younger brother back then, and he said one of my classmates who was hard on him, who was trying to bully him, that he one day spat in his food. And he prayed. Oh, man. He said he prayed that something bad would happen to him. Now, I'm not encouraging anybody who's listening to do anything of the sort. But if by chance your young son is with you, a teenager, please draw him close. Draw your daughter close. And ask them this one question. Why are they angry? Why do they need to express their emotions in violence? Let them know that they can speak to and with you. I think the turning point for me personally was having a youth club member. I can't even remember his name now. But I remember just before we were to become, the prefects in school, he called me and my classmates aside and advised us. And I think that's where I made that resolve. And I told my classmates, hey, look, those things that they did to us, we should not do to them. I was a prefect. I did flog some people. Sometimes I ask myself, did I really need to? But as sure as daybreak hope that no one will look back and say, this man was evil to me. Remind your sons, remind your daughters, like the last caller said, that there is a tomorrow. We'll wrap up this morning as I take messages across. Jude, there's no need beating the bush. The truth is that things like this can't stop happening. Why? Well, it happens in every part of the world, not just in Nigeria. Remember, this happens amongst the youth. And so one cannot take away the fact that youthful age is a stage in life where humans show exuberance. That's why it's called, in quotes, youthful exuberance. Everyone did things like this at one point or another in their lives. It has absolutely nothing to do with the war. Yeah, you may be right, but should young people be violent to themselves, assaulting themselves? There has to be a better way to teach our young ones, our children, how to express and channel their emotions. There just has to be. Now, from our previous conversation, Arcelia says, I was born and raised in Lagos. My tertiary education brought me to Port Harcourt. Spent a few years in Abuja as well during my internship program. Jude, sincerely, the customer care attitude as well as interpersonal relationship of Port Harcourt businessmen and women is terrible, ranging from the cash point attendants in the malls and superstores, the pump attendants in the petrol stations, the pepper and vegetable vendor in the open market, the boutiques owners, name it. Port Harcourt people have a very long way to go, Arcelia. So we talk for development. I'd like to encourage you to take a pause, evaluate, and maybe make those changes as you see fit. My name is Jude. Hello Port Harcourt wraps up today. Coming up, news and then the sunny side. Do enjoy the rest of your day.